Guys, I am so excited to officially announce the biggest project in internet history, digital age. It's unbelievable. NeBula, the next big thing as we transition to Web3. NeBula will be the Web3 planet epicenter, and it will be the new technology, and it'll get everyone on the migration and on a course to fully transition into Web3. And guys, I've got a very detailed PowerPoint here that I put together over multiple months. Let's get right into my vision of NeBula. That's with an uppercase B for NeBula there. So, NeBula project, what is it? NeBula will be a massive 2-in-1 digital platform, and this is the true integration of Web3. There's a lot of early versions of Web3 out there. People don't know what to go to. What's the big thing? This is the big thing. This is the next Google. This is the next YouTube. And it's all going to be facilitated through a cryptocurrency ecosystem and through an artificial planet that we'll make called NeBula. Let me explain what I mean. Number one, when you're talking about the 2-in-1 digital platform, number one, an artificial planet whose land can be purchased and traded. So the idea is we create an artificial planet. We're going to integrate the whole VR, virtual reality. You can actually go, when you put the glasses on, onto the land that you buy. We're going to get into it more, but it's unbelievable. This has never been thought of before. It is the idea. You look at cryptocurrency, you buy Bitcoin. What is it? You buy Ethereum. That's what everyone asks. They don't know. When you're buying NeBula, it is basically land, but also coins. So there's going to be a 1-to-1 conversion ratio. If you buy one coin, one NeBula coin, that's going to be like buying 1 mile of land on NeBula. You can buy it, you can sell it, you can trade it, and of course it's all based off of demand, how much it goes for, things like that. Just like any other cryptocurrency, just like any other stock. You go to the stock market, you get Apple, it's doing well. A lot of people are buying it, the price goes up. It's the same thing with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all of the others. You can see it goes right with NeBula. Buying land, well, really what it is you're buying coins to buy land, and this will all get explained. Here it is. Buying $100 worth of NeBula would get you around 1.24 miles of land on the actual planet. It coincides. This is like if you're investing into Bitcoin, you're getting, let's say you buy 0.52 of Bitcoin, that's what you're getting. With NeBula, not only are you getting the coin, you're getting the land on the planet as well. It's like an extension of it. And that's the whole idea of really transitioning people to Web3. And it's going to be facilitated all through this planet, and it's probably going to be developed with a VR thing, and we will actually simulate actual Earth experiences, the Stone Age, the Bronze Age. We're going to get to all of that in a second. And then number two, social media 2.0. So NeBula, it's a tour. It's a 2-in-1 digital platform. You've got the artificial planet, and you also get social media 2.0 as we all move to Web3. Most importantly, I want no bots or very few bots. $4.99 sign-up fee are free. The only reason you make it $4.99 is to eliminate bots. I am perfectly fine with signing up for NeBula and going into it and exploring it. I'm fine with making it free. The issue is the whole bot problem. There's going to have to be some technology that gets developed, and this is why there's kind of an issue right now with Web3. Let's get the technology to eliminate bots to where you get one account, and this is a big problem with Gmail and things like that. Like, I have 15, 20 different Gmail accounts. It is a complete mess. That's the problem with Google. That's the problem with YouTube and how rampant YouTube recommending me cryptocurrency scams with Elon Musk videos and stuff like that. It is a mess, And that's totally fine. That's what Web 2 is. We're evolving. We have to evolve to Web 3. The evolution is going to be a lot cleaner because we already know the mistakes. Twitter, for as great of a platform as it is, Elon Musk doing a lot of things. We love free speech and things like that. It's already too far gone. The bot problem is already so much of an issue that we need a full break, and we can really take advantage of this when we create NeBula and all the social media platforms like Twitter 2.0, YouTube 2.0, creator platforms. We will take advantage of the fact that we're creating a new platform, so we have better technology. When you look at Twitter, YouTube, made in 2006, 2010, we have better technology to deal with bots to where you sign up as a bot, you're going to get completely deleted. You're going to be removed. We want people using NeBula, using the social media platforms around NeBula, buying and trading NeBula. It's all human to human. It's all organic, and it's all peace of mind. There is a major advantage. If we want to make a new social media platform, we have the advantage of having better technology to deal with artificial intelligence, the bots, understanding them, and these duplicate accounts, things like that, people that just want to troll. Of course, if you want to make an account and troll, that's fine, but I do think we need to limit people in terms of, making 20 different Gmail accounts and things like that. I think it needs to be limited. Other social media for other planets. So that's like the idea, well, we'll keep going here. You can see this is mainly what I want NeBula. NeBula overall, it's a facilitator. So it's like you go into NeBula to get to another planet, and think of NeBula as your main profile, and you've got like a main group of friends. So instead of going into Twitter on an app and then, leaving Twitter and going to Instagram, once you get into NeBula, just think about like Xbox Live. You have a certain friends group, and you can see, oh, Johnny is on, Twitter 2.0. Sammy is on NeBula, looking at the land. And you can kind of see your inner circle of friends, and then you can go to the platforms through there. There's no difference where it's like I'm on Twitter and then I want to go. It's all connected. It's just like the Xbox Live PS5 model, to where NeBula is where you go, you sign in. Now you're into it, and you can go to different platforms, and you have a main account that is a NeBula account, kind of like Google does with Gmail, things like that. It's a facilitator to other platforms and stuff. So really, it's all together. It's all intertwined. I'm entering NeBula. I've got friends. I accept friend requests, things like that, and I can see what my friends are doing, just like on Xbox Live, stuff like that. Then I want to go into Twitter. I can go into it, and of course, you can keep your account privated. You don't have to have any friends or whatever. It's something different when you actually go into Twitter 2.0 or Instagram 2.0 or YouTube. Obviously, those are different accounts, but the overall idea is it's facilitated under one ecosystem. Now let's get to the planet, buying land. What is the planet going to look like? Things like that. Buy, sell, trade digital land on planet NeBula. Choose land location in which you want to buy. This is probably only going to be at the start of, NeBula, because let's say someone has some land, let's just say in the southern hemisphere of the planet, and if you want to buy land, maybe it's only available there. So really at the start of NeBula, this is mainly, just a project that I want everyone to be involved in. If you get in early, you'll get to buy where you'll get to, wherever you want to buy it, that's where you can purchase it, and it's going to be the exact same price across all the land. So if you're talking about 1 mile of land in the middle of, a country, there's not going to be any countries, at least at the start, but let's just say there's 1 mile in the middle of the country versus 1 mile on the coastline. In the real world, the coastline is more valuable, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be the exact same price. All of the land is the exact same price per square mile, per acre, per whatever. I'm going by per square mile, but you could also do acre as well, and we'll get to the size of it and everything like that. earn USD from selling land on Nebula, which is basically like selling the coin Nebula, right? Because it coincides 1 and 1. I want it to be a clean, conversion to where if you're buying 1 Nebula, you also get 1 mile of land on the planet. I want it to be very clean and very easy for people. So if you're purchasing, let's say 1 Nebula coin, just like you look on coin market cap, anything like that, let's say it's like $8.24. You pay $8.24, you get 1 mile of land wherever that is located. Whoever's selling that, they're selling their area on Nebula. You can buy it, you get it, and obviously it goes up if the demand goes up and everyone owns land on Nebula, no one wants to sell, it's going to force it up. It's just like supply and demand with anything, any stock, any cryptocurrency like that. Will this planet be developed? We will talk about that, but the planet's going to open in a virtual kind of BC Stone Age type, nobody's going to have, there's going to be no humans. It's going to be completely underdeveloped. This has never been done before, a digital experience to where we're basically simulating what happened when humans entered Earth, and we're simulating it on this planet in a completely different solar system, of course, all digitally. It is remarkable. What drives the value of this planet? I already discussed that. It's scarcity, it's demand for land. If there's a lot of demand, the price is going to go up. If there's not, it will be relatively low. Can you buy Nebula without buying land? No. So, you know how you buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, something like that? You just get the Bitcoin and Ethereum and that's it. You're not going to be able to do that with Nebula. It will be tied in. So, and it's just an extra feature to it, right? Hopefully it makes the coin more valuable that you're owning a planet that is developing in real time. And we've got an interesting idea on how I want it to develop and the overall time warp that's going to be happening on this planet. Hopefully, as it gets developed, I'm not sure if this technology can be developed to actually simulate the planet developing similar to how Earth did. But I do want to get into that here. And then this is an example. You buy 1.34 Nebula, which is the exact same thing as 1.34 miles. So you're getting the coin, and the coin is tied to the real estate. It's basically the same thing. You're getting the coin, but it's also the real estate. And that's just an example of purchasing it for, $205 or whatever the price of the coin is. That's just a complete estimation that I just threw out there. And then there will be a cap to how much land you can own. We're not doing the whole Bill Gates thing where we're going to buy up a bunch of stuff and a bunch of my land, my digital land and things like that. So it's going to be spread around. We're not going to have people buying $10 million worth of it. There's going to be a cap of it. You're not going to be able to own a ton of it. The whole idea is this is for the middle class to uplift us. And then this is just more going along with the planet, explaining it. Nebula will be around the size of Earth, so we're talking about the actual size of the planet now, and probably it will be a little bit bigger. Originally, I did want to make it the size of Neptune, but that would completely tank its overall value because there would be so much land available to own. It would just be too much, and it would really hurt the overall value of the planet. The planet will develop the same way as Earth did. We will talk about that in a second. It starts with users buying undeveloped land, so pretty much just blanket land. Some of it could be, forest, glaciers, any land, desert, whatever it is. When we develop it and when we make the artificial planet, it's going to be non-developed. It's going to be basically a naked planet, and it's going to be, similar to Earth. It's not like a gas planet or anything like that. It's going to be livable for humans. Maybe a little bit different overall temperatures, but very similar. I want this to be an Earth-type simulation planet as we make the next step into Web 3. Once all the land has been bought, civilization starts. So this is something I'm not sure if it's achievable right now. I'm guessing it is when they have all the simulation games like GTA and things like that. My overall goal, this is just, let's say everyone's bought their land, civilization and the simulation of this planet starts. Just an example, the Stone Age in 2028, the Bronze Age in 2029, the Iron Age in 2030. That is just a rough estimate of kind of how it could be developed. And you could actually go to your planet and look at your land developing in real time with a significant time dilation that will all be explained. We remember Interstellar with Miller's Planet, and it was a crazy difference there with 1 hour being 7 years. That's the same idea, except the planet's going to develop a lot more faster. And you'll actually be able to go in, hopefully VR, and look at the land that you own and watch it develop around you. The technology for this, we're gonna have to see. It's very futuristic. Why the demand for a digital planet? Well, it's the limited land. Everyone wants to get their hands on the Web3 epicenter that will facilitate everything within Web3, and it's part of this cryptocurrency project. Let's move on to the social media aspect of NeBula, which is separate from the planet, completely separate, but you can access it. Obviously, you go into NeBula, you just go to the social media stuff. What do we need to develop? Well, YouTube, Twitter, their fatal flaw, and it's not just YouTube, Twitter, it's everything in the Web 2 space. They cannot fix the bot problem. We have seen Elon Musk try and fix it. They're making it better. They're doing a better job. Web 2 is it's unfixable. There are too many bots. The technology is not good enough. Even if the technology was good enough and it's getting better, they've implemented it. The bots are already on the platform. Even when they eliminate the bots, there's so many. It is unfixable, and that's fine. That is organic stuff. That's exactly what we thought would happen. That is the evolution of human beings integrating with social media. You're going to deal with stuff like this. When they created YouTube in 2006, there was no incentive to set up a anti-bot software structure because nobody cared about YouTube in 2006. I give YouTube credit. It's done amazing things. But now the bots have taken over the platform to a lesser degree. And we're going to have users, as ChatGPT gets more and more smart, they're going to start thinking they're interacting with bots, and it's going to put distrust in them and their overall social media experience. So that is a major advantage we have if we try and develop this in Web3. We can roll out technology that's ready to intercept 99, maybe 100% of all bots, depending on the sign-up structure that we have and the information we would want. This is not you enter a name and a username and you can sign up and you can create 5,000 bot accounts like you could do with YouTube and Gmail back in 2011, 2012. No, we're going to have safeguards. You're going to go on NeBula, you're going to go on the social media platforms on NeBula, and you're going to interact with human beings and only human beings. The only thing that can destroy the social media experience and our obsession with watching info and consuming info and arguing with people is the idea and the distrust of the consumer that they're not interacting with another real person. They're interacting with a bot. They're interacting with artificial intelligence, and all of it is going to get worse as artificial intelligence gets smarter. So we have to push artificial intelligence away from us when it comes to social media, in my opinion. Bots need to be 1,000% eliminated. I don't know if that's possible, but we need to develop something that can really limit the bots on NeBula. The idea of Twitter 2.0, YouTube 2.0, each on their own planet within NeBula. NeBula would host all social media with outlets to other planets. So I'm not sure I would really want to do this, but it is the idea. Let's say you're in NeBula, and it would just be a way to go to YouTube 2.0. It's just like on another planet, but I don't know if I really want to do that. That's rather confusing. It's basically just like you go into NeBula and you open YouTube. That's the whole idea, and it's like the idea is it's with another planet, but I think that might be too confusing for people, and it might just be unnecessary because really I want to develop NeBula and get NeBula really push that before we move on to other planets, so maybe it'll just host everything. Example, you enter NeBula and you go to planet Nova. which would be Twitter 2.0, but I don't know if there's a need for that, really. I think it can all be done within Nebula. There's no reason to have another planet. Mainly, the only reason I would put up another planet is if Nebula got so big and the land got so expensive and people would want another planet. That's the only reason I would do it. Users may find having to enter Nebula every time annoying, so that could be an issue with it. Maybe you just want to go to Twitter. You don't want to have to go through Nebula. I do think there needs to be shortcuts to not having to enter Nebula to get to, a Twitter 2.0 or whatever it is, Google 2.0. You can just go right to it. What I actually eventually want is computers programmed with the Nebula planet running, and it's just complete. It's just like you see these, MacBooks. It's all with the Mac system. It's all the Apple, and then you see the same thing with PC and Windows. I would like to see something like with Nebula to where the computer is already programmed with Nebula and with the planet, and it's already programmed and loaded in. Nebula planet size, similar to Earth but bigger, slightly bigger, I would say. The number I'm looking at, 250 million square miles. Earth is at 196. So, that's a good, I would say fourth or fifth bigger than Earth overall. The size depends on demand. Impossible. I'm not even sure what I meant by that. But yes, no, it does depend on the demand, and you don't want, originally I wanted the planet to be so overwhelming and so huge, but it would make the demand so low because there's so much land available. You can see too big, not enough demand, lowers the value of the land, right? And then too small, the land becomes super expensive and someone can't even buy a square mile. So we want to find a sweet spot. And I would say at this point, we're looking at 50% land, 50% water, but I would like a full water planet because I think they look amazing. But that's just a personal thing. But yeah, I would say 50% land, 50% water, unless it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing, which in that case, we might have to do something similar to Earth and go about 70% water, 30% land. If the land looks too cluttered, we're going to have to see. Like, I would like to see mocks of different planets that are like 50-50, 50 water, 50 land, 75 water, 25 land, things like that. It's all fluid, but I would say around 50-50 is what I'm looking at. All land is the same price. So again, this is not like the real world where the coastlines are going to be more expensive. You couldn't do something like that because the price of Nebula is all going to be the same. It's going to be like, let's say it's $7 per coin. And $7, if you buy one Nebula for $7, you're getting 1 square mile, whether that's on the coastline, whether that's in the, a desert, whether that's in the North Pole or a glacier. It's all the same price. We can't say the coastline's more expensive because it all ties back to Nebula overall. And then you've got the VR element. Explore your own land through VR. They're still trying to develop it. But the idea is you would put on the VR headset and you would go into Nebula, and the land that you own, you would be able to explore. Or even if you didn't own any land at all, you would still be able to explore it as well. There's also the idea of being able to actually create your own things on your own land, which I think would be very hard to do with the current technology that we have, at least at the start. Maybe that can be developed. But right now, we're just looking at like a simulation based on a computer of Nebula going year by year developing, and whether your land develops into a cattle ranch or a sports stadium, it is just luck of the draw. But it's always going to be the same price no matter what. That's the idea of it. I want a computer designed with the planet built in, possibly something like a Nebula system. Yeah, I talked about that earlier. Going back to the size here, you can see if I do go 250 million square miles for the planet size, the supply would be 125 million per 125 million coins, which coincides with the overall land, because if I make the planet 250 square miles around and 50 of its land, 50 of its water, you're cutting it in half. So the supply coincides with the overall miles that would be available for purchase. 125 million miles available to buy. it's 1 mile per coin. And then you get a max supply of 125 million coins. Of course, this can all be adjusted. Again, if I want to go 30% land, the supply would come down. It just depends. 1 coin equals 1 mile. I want it to be very simple for people. If you're buying 1 coin of NeBula, you get 1 mile. That is very important that we make it simple for people. Seems like too big of a supply, but I want people to be able to buy 1 mile. So yes, the supply, again, at 125 million, if you compare that to Bitcoin at, 20 million or 21 million, it's about 6 times bigger than Bitcoin. But again, I don't want to make it too small. We could always go down to 100 million depending on how much land we actually want on the planet. And really, you could go down to whatever number you wanted. If you wanted to make the planet as big as Pluto, it would be, a lot less of a supply, which would make the land a lot more demanding. But I do love the idea of making it comparable to Earth because human beings, they like kind of visualizing Earth and things like that and being able to compare the two. Do I make the oceans unbuyable? Yes. So, this was something that was brainstormed, and it just seems like at this point, it would be too confusing to be able to buy an actual massive ocean. I would say the setup of this is going to be similar to Earth, to where we'll have 3 or 4 oceans on NeBula, and they will not be available for purchase. I wouldn't really know. You really don't want to purchase like 30 miles of water. It doesn't make sense. And technically that would be under my administration, but it would not be buyable. It would not be worth anything. How much does each mile or coin cost? All based on demand. So again, this is like Bitcoin. This is like Apple, a stock, whatever. It's all based on the demand. There is not a set price. I'm not going to say here's it costs $15 to buy 1 mile of land and that's how much the coin costs. It's just based off of the overall demand. NeBula wealth distribution. NeBula is going to be Elysium, but for the middle class. So guys, not only are we buying digital land, but when we buy the digital land and we make NeBula the Web3 epicenter, and NeBula becomes one of the biggest coins in the crypto market, with hopefully an absolutely massive overall total volume, we will be theoretically making a digital version of an Elysium, but we're also going to move to the next level because NeBula is going to be so expensive. When we buy NeBula, it'll go up so much. And then, obviously we want to make money off of this, things like that. You're able to buy it at a certain price as everyone integrates to Web3. And this becomes the epicenter of Web3 and really the carrier. NeBula is Web3. That's what it's going to be. Everything around it, once more people transition, the price of NeBula, the price of the land will inevitably rise. It'll have to rise because everyone's transitioning. Everyone wants to get rid of bots. We're all going to Web3, and it's Elysium for the middle class because the middle class is going to be propped up into this. We've seen a lot of rich people get rich off crypto and stuff. This is really it. Everyone's going to own it. Millions of people are going to have land on NeBula. That's the goal. And hopefully it will be truly the idea to where the middle class mainly owns it and we're able to control it. And everyone's like, oh, it's digital. Yeah, it's digital, but you can make actual real money off of it by buying it and then selling it as more and more people integrate to Web3. Inevitably, it's going to force the price up because more and more people are coming to Web3, and NeBula is the epicenter. It's the #1 project. Why would the land be worth anything? Well, I just explained it. Why is Bitcoin worth anything? Right, it's the exact same thing. This is the largest project of the digital age. It's bigger than Bitcoin. It's bigger than anything that's been done before. You've got a planet, social media, search engine. We need a new Google. Guys, the issue, and I have so much respect for Google. I have so much respect for YouTube, but they've gotten so intertwined with the government. They're manipulating search results. They're not allowing you to say what you want because the government has their own narrative and the government is telling them and to allow certain things, to censor certain things. This all needs to be decentralized. We need to take the power back because there's way more normal citizens, normal people that don't have much money like me, Then there are ultra-rich people, people that have power within the government. They want you to believe that they're leading you into a good place. We want to be able to do what we want, say what we want on social media, on Nebula. Of course, you can't have it to where, we're threatening people and things like that. We don't want that, but we want freedom to discuss our ideas, and that's what Nebula really is, and that really is the transition into Web 3. There's no government. There's no somebody telling me what to censor on these new social media platforms. Social media is so important, and it must be left alone. It's not going to be manipulated. Don't make the same mistake that Twitter did before Elon took over. That's what we're trying to do there. Everything is connected through Nebula. All of the social media, the new search engine that takes over for Google, and obviously the planet as well. Replace Google, replace Twitter, replace YouTube. All of these must be replaced when we go to Web 3 due to rampant bots, multiple accounts, government manipulation. Pick your poison on that one. You can create a Nebula account and explore the planet without owning any land on Nebula. Of course, we want this to be open for everyone. But if you do own land on Nebula, you will have access to a private exclusive server to talk about the price of Nebula, to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I do want to have an exclusive server to people if they actually own the land. One account per person. If you want a new account, you first must delete the old one. So I'm not sure about this policy, but it's just like the idea, and I go back to Gmail and stuff like that. We've got people that have 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, 200, 300 different Gmail accounts. Theoretically, you can make 50 Gmail accounts in a single day. I don't have anything against people having like multiple accounts. If you have a main account and then a burner you like to use, I understand that. But we're trying to eliminate one single person having 20 different accounts. That's what, and I'm not sure how I want to do that. It's a very complex issue, but we have to get it right because it's so important that why would people want to leave Twitter? Why do they want to leave Web 2? Why do they want to leave YouTube and use something completely different? That's a real inconvenience for people. So we need to offer something legitimate and says, listen, you come on here, you're going to talk to people. This is human interaction. You actually have to offer them something to get them to move off of Web 2, and hopefully that is a pitch that we can use. No more bots. Nebula purchasing problem, only one way to buy. So this is another issue with Nebula, and it's going to have to be worked out. How do you buy Nebula? The idea of buying Nebula through a cryptocurrency exchange, it would be very hard to implement because you would be buying the coin with the land. So it's almost like you would actually, the only way to buy Nebula, sell Nebula, trade Nebula is through an independent exchange, that's set up specifically for Nebula and only Nebula. And I would love to do that, but obviously it becomes very hard to buy the coin. You can't buy it off of Coinbase. You cannot buy it off of Binance because just the way when you're buying Nebula, you're not just buying 1.4 Nebula coin, you're buying 1.4 miles of land. How do we integrate that? That's going to be very hard, and that's a major question for the project. The overall numbers, this is just an estimate, 125 million max supply for the Nebula coin, 125 million square miles available for purchase at launch. A total of 80 billion acres. That's, I believe, what 125 million square miles is. And then an example here, you can see if I have, $10.23 USD, and I end up buying Nebula, let's just say I end up getting 1.23 in Nebula coin, and that also gives me 1.23 miles of land that I would own on Nebula that I could see. Obviously, when you go into Nebula, you can see where you own the land, what's the land doing, how is it developing, things like that. It's a total hands-on experience. You actually go into the planet, just like you go into Google Earth, you can kind of see the whole planet and zoom in. it'll have the spot that you own, and you kind of go in and see what that is. That's the vision of it. Just like Google Earth, when you go to your house, you zoom it in, it'll show you what land you own. You can zoom it in, you can see what that land is doing, how it's developing, and kind of the whole timeline of it, and then you can sell it, things like that. It'll show the price, the demand, what's been going on, is it going up, down? That'll all be on NeBula. Obviously, NeBula becomes the transition to Web3 for humans. Again, it's almost like Web3 right now is stuck. It needs a project to lead it. This is the project that's going to lead Web3. NeBula is its own ecosystem. It has its own social media, cryptocurrency. We create basically a new Google, just like Google did, basically owning YouTube, the whole Gmail. It's all intertwined. That is NeBula. That is the Web3 version of what Google did in Web 2, only it's actually even more encompassing because now it's actually a cryptocurrency. You can buy it. We're going to implement the VR element, and that is the whole idea of NeBula. NeBula Moon or another planet. So obviously there could be developments, way, way down the line if this ends up working out. Buying NeBula land, you can see 125 million available miles, hard max on land you can buy. So, if this project took off and you've got some billionaire who wants to buy it all, it's not going to happen. There's a max. You're not going to be able to own half of the entire planet. That's just not going to happen. Only one account per person. So when you go onto NeBula and you buy, we don't want one person creating 50 different accounts, buying the max on all the accounts, and then owning all of that land. We're going to try and make that very hard or eliminate it. And then this is just a timeline, a rough estimate. You can see maybe the planet develops. It's in stages. We open it, the buying period in January 2025, where you can actually buy, whatever part of the land you want. The NeBula world, this is just an example, starts on January 1st, 2026, so that's when its world clock would start. Simulated world gets played out in a sped up timeline, and then possibly reach current time in 2030. I really don't know, that's just speculation, but the idea is it starts out kind of where humans were back in the BC era, back in the Stone Age, things like that, with no technology, and then we watch ourselves evolve, and you do not have control of what happens to your land during simulation, which I'm sure some people would love the idea to where they could build whatever they want, but at this point, I would not want, it's just too hard to implement something like that. But it will always, of course, be valued the same as everyone else's land, no matter if your land develops into the Vegas Strip or if it develops into a desert, it will be worth the same. It's impossible to make different parts of land on NeBula worth different prices due to the fact that it's all tied to a coin. So the overall idea and then the whole idea with the time difference on NeBula, for example, NeBula would be very sped up. If we start early life on NeBula in 2026, it would be like for every, let's just say, minute in Earth time, I would say something like, 6 months or 1 month or something would pass on NeBula, and it would be very easy to see the development of NeBula. The idea is we're entertaining people. We're showing a simulation. You're buying up land and you're watching it develop. And if we could implement the VR to get people to actually put on the goggles and go and look at their land and see it being developed in a sped up timeline, because we've all got very short attention spans. And then this is just a render of the potential overall color scheme of NeBula. Personally, my favorite color is light blue. I think it signifies hope. And, this, I believe, is a gas planet. So, not exactly. It's just a random thing that I found. I just like the overall color of it. And I would want NeBula to look a little bit different than Earth does. Possibly a little bit brighter. Possibly with more like white puffy clouds that makes it, up against blue. I think that looks so beautiful. So it would be kind of like a little bit, just a little bit more hopeful planet looking, maybe a light blue tint to it when it comes to the overall planet color. That would be something that I would be interested in doing. But guys, that is the whole idea of NeBula, the NeBula project. That is in very early stages right now. Just an idea to transition people from Web 2 to Web 3, We almost need a project to get there. We need a launching pad. And NeBula, the whole idea of the cryptocurrency buying digital land, an actual planet to facilitate the move, is so unique. It's such an idea that hasn't really been thought of. So guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.